Hi guys, it's Leah Hollingsworth, online fitness guru. Getting babes in shape, booty's bigger, butts smaller. Sorry.
Good morning, welcome back to my YouTube. It is Tuesday today and I've just made my coffee. I'm gonna go on a dog walk. It's 7 o'clock in the morning. So I just had my drink first. I had creatine and glutamine, so big drink of water, and then I'm going to take my coffee out on the walk with me. So just going to pop out and do probably like an hour-ish of walking. That's what I normally do in the morning. So basically today we are going out for dinner, and I thought I would film a little bit of like what I eat in a day around like a meal out or like an off-plan meal, etc. So that's going to be what I'm doing today. So today is also a training day. I'm going to be training legs, and this week is this is my first week back in like my normal training, because I've been doing full body sessions since the surgery just to like ease back into it, get back into like a good routine, make sure I'm not really sore with getting back to the gym after having the like 10-ish weeks off. So this is my first week back, normal split. So I did my upper body session yesterday on Monday. I've got my leg session today, and then my other 3 sessions are pull, push, legs. It's basically pull, push, legs, upper, lower. So 5 sessions in the week. So I'm really excited to get back to my normal split. And upper feels a little bit sore today, but not too bad. So yeah, it's leg day, and I'm going to be going out for dinner tonight. So we're going to a pub for Will's dad's birthday. So yeah, I just thought it would be really useful, because I know it can be quite overwhelming sometimes when people like go out for dinner, and it can be really hard knowing what to do, what not to do, how to eat around it. So I'm going to break all of that down. I'm going to explain it all in loads of detail, but we're starting with a coffee. I'm going to take this out. Look at that. I'm going to take this out on the walk. I showed you my new coffee machine last time, but I'm going to show it you again today, because look at it. It's snazzy. My next purchase is, I really want to get a Ninja Creamy. Hey Will?
Yeah?
Ninja Creamy. That's going to happen probably for when I'm dieting, because I don't need one at the minute. So yeah, at the minute, I went through this in my previous video, but I'm not doing any sort of diet at the minute. I've got our team photo shoot, which is in like 3.5 weeks now until the team shoot. So I'm not doing a diet for that, and I explained this in the last video, but basically decided just to focus on like eating well, getting back into following a meal plan with getting back to training, because after having time off the gym and trying to get back into training, obviously didn't want to go in and be like dieting, because I wanted to focus on getting strong again, because since the operation my strength is obviously very low compared to what it was. So we're on mission build strength back up again, and eating properly to build strength back up again. So that's the current goal. So obviously when you're in a prep, when I'm in a diet, the off-plan meal or the meal out is going to look very different. So for example, when I'm in prep, like I don't have meals out, like I just follow my meal plan. Sometimes we'll have a refeed, but it's like a planned refeed. So the food is purposely planned higher than what it is normally, but that's very structured. It's done in a way that's like, you have this grams of this grams of that, etc. And I'll talk more about refeeds and why they're used like in a bit. But when I'm in like a building phase or a off season, whatever you want to call it, I tend to have like an off-plan meal or a meal out a week, and I'll talk through later what to do if I have like, sometimes I'll have like 2 meals out a week. So if I have like a friend's birthday and then an event, sometimes it does end up being 2, or go out on a day trip or something. So I'll talk through all that as well. But normally on a week-to-week basis, it's a meal plan and then 1 like off-plan meal a week. And I'm going to go through as well, like from a mindset perspective, because I think some people struggle a bit with that, and it, some people say, oh, like rejuvenation food, blah, blah, blah. So I'll talk through all that and kind of how I approach it and things like that. So that's basically how I run it. Follow a meal plan a week. I'm in not in a building phase as such, because I've only just got back to the gyms, but the goal is just to eat consistently, follow a meal plan, eat enough food. But I'm still going to be running this as like a off-plan meal a week to make sure I'm still hitting my plan like 99% of the time. So that's going to be the plan. So and drink my coffee and then go out and walk the dogs, and then I'll explain more about what today's looking like food-wise. Okay, so in terms of the off-plan meals, how I basically do this is, because I follow a meal plan, I'm on set meals, okay? So I have the same meals every day. This is something I've done since... I did used to track macros actually in the past, so that was quite a long time ago. So when I was kind of early days getting into fitness, like I was very much like, if it fits your macros. And basically, let's circle around a bit. The reason I went to a meal plan is because when I started actually taking bodybuilding seriously, which was probably 20... I kind of dabbled in it a little bit, and I did compete in 2018, but I guess when I started taking it a bit more seriously was more like 2020, so maybe like 5 years ago now. And basically my coach that I moved to put me on a meal plan, and I was always really kind of anti-meal plan. I was like, actually, you know, I don't want to eat the same thing every day, blah, blah, blah. But I promise you, like, my results got so much better, and my relationship with food actually massively improved when I went onto a meal plan, because it's foods that I really enjoy eating. Makes it so much easier as well in terms of actually being able to hit like your protein, your fats. Like, my consistency was so much better in terms of like meal timings. Like, honestly, it just made things so much more straightforward, and I've basically followed a meal plan like ever since then, essentially ever since I went on to more of a meal plan structure in 2020. And obviously I have times off it, right? Like, I go on holiday, I don't follow a meal plan, but 90% of the year I'm following like a meal plan structure. So essentially, in my opinion, like, if you are serious about getting results, you want to make your life a bit easier, you don't want to be like overly consumed by kind of like what food you're going to be eating, it makes it so much easier following some sort of meal plan structure. And it doesn't even have to be exactly the same food every single day. You know, you can rotate your meals you can rotate like things around within your meals. So for example, one of my main meals is like rice, chicken and like salad, and I have peronaise on it, but sometimes I might swap the chicken for prawns, or I might have like turkey mince or chicken mince, or I might add like a different seasoning or a different sauce on, or sometimes I might have like a wrap instead of rice. So you can still rotate things around. You don't necessarily have to eat the exact same thing every day, but honestly, it just makes it so much easier because you know how many meals you're eating a day, you know roughly what each meal is going to include, you know your meal times. Like, I eat in a similar way day to day. It just makes life so much easier. So when it comes to an off-plan meal, I basically have, on a training day, I have 6 meals. On a rest day, I have 5 meals. That's like my standard thing when it comes to my meals. However, because at the minute I have been in the process of getting back to training, my sessions haven't been as like high intensity as they normally are. I've reduced my training day down to 5 meals. So I basically have my breakfast, then I have a pre-workout shake and banana, then I have my post-workout, which is my lunch, then I have my evening meal, and then I have yogurt before bed. So at the minute I'm on a 5 meal structure on a training day, and I'm going to show you exactly what I eat today. And then all I do essentially is I will swap once a week, I will swap my main meal for an off-plan meal. So if I go out for breakfast, I'll swap my breakfast. If I go out for my evening meal, I'll swap my evening meal. So I basically keep the other meals exactly the same. And this is why it makes it so much easier, because when you're tracking macros and you're trying to eat out loads, you have this whole thing of like, you're trying to estimate a meal out, you're trying to figure out what you can eat around it. You end up like sat on MyFitnessPal trying to think, okay, well, I need to do this to this meal and this to that meal. Whereas if you just say, right, you know, in a building phase, I have 1 meal out, and I just swap this meal. What you will find, and this obviously happens to me, is on the day that I have my off-plan meal, my calories obviously are higher because my normal evening meal is just over 500 calories. So typically when I go out for a meal and I'll have a bigger meal, I might have a dessert sometimes, most of the time, when I have my off-plan meal, my calories are going to be much higher than 500 calories, right? They're probably more towards, I don't know, I'm going to say between 1,000 and 1,500 in my off-plan meal. More towards 2,000 even sometimes when I'm deep in my off-season. So obviously that's higher than my normal evening meal, right? So what you then find is once a week, your calories do get pushed up higher because you've obviously got your normal, so for me, my normal 4 meals around it, and then my off-plan meal. So my calories on that one day are a lot higher than normal. But obviously the thing is, when you're in a building phase, like it doesn't, like you don't want to be doing that every day, obviously, because I would gain fat very quickly. But as a one-off, once a week, when I'm hitting all my other meals on my plan, and then I have one meal out that I enjoy and is a bit higher calorie, like in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't do a massive amount. And to be honest, I think everyone needs time at some point where you just go out and you can have a meal with your family or with your friends, and you're able to just enjoy it and like be flexible. Obviously, the caveat to this is, like, when I go on holiday, I don't just have one meal out. Like, I will eat out a lot and I will eat out every day, but I approach that slightly differently. Like, I wouldn't just go away on holiday and eat whatever I want for every meal, because I'm very aware that like that would make me gain fat quite rapidly. Like, if I went on holiday and I was like, okay, I'm going to treat every meal as an off-plan meal, like, yes, I would gain weight, of course, but as a one-off, when I am like going out for an off-plan meal, I will just have what I want once a week in an off season, because it's once a week and I carry on as normal around it, right? So that's kind of the main way that I approach it. What I will say is this is purely an off-season approach, right? So I'm not trying to lose weight at the minute. If I did that same approach and I was trying to diet, it would pull me out of my deficit. And this is where, like, it's so easy, like if you are someone that has a fat loss goal, it's so easy to sort of, I'm going to say undo progress, store your progress, whatever you want to call it, because if you are creating a deficit and then you go out for a meal and your meal is like nearly 2,000 calories, which typically in an off-season mine probably is close to 2,000 calories. Like, if I go out and I do that and then I'm eating all my other meals on top, that's probably going to pull me out of most of my deficit for the whole week, right? Because if I'm having a day where I'm eating, say, I don't know, let's say 1,700 calories, and then I'm having a 2,000 calorie meal out, that's going to basically pull me out my whole deficit for the week. So the difference with this is you can't do this approach when you are trying to diet, because it, for a smallish female that, you know, is probably creating, let's say, a 3,000 calorie deficit over the week, like, that's going to pull me out of my deficit. So this isn't something that I will do in like a prep. I will do it actually at the start of a prep. Normally my off-plan meals are kept in, but the calorie amount is reduced, and I will actually track that in as a meal, or I'll have something like healthier. So at the start of a prep, for example, my off-plan meal last time went down to 1,000 calories. So obviously there's a big difference between an off-plan that's 2,000 calories and an off-plan that's 1,000 calories. So what I would do at the start of prep is I would either go out and have something sensible, so I might have like steak and veg, or I might have salmon and potato, rather than having like a pizza and a dessert. So even though the off plan is still there in the start of a prep or a diet phase, I will make a lot more of a mindful decision, like I won't have a dessert, I won't have a starter, because I'm aware that I'm in a deficit, and I obviously don't want to be I don't want to be like pushing my calories super high on one day, because it's going to take me out of my deficit. So that's how I would approach it differently in a general fat loss phase. And what I would say is, like, when I'm generally dieting, like, I will still go out for probably a meal a week, but again, I will be sensible. Like, I wouldn't go out in a diet and have a pizza and a dessert. Like, I would go out on a diet and maybe have like steak and potato, or salmon and veg, or something like that. So there are ways around it, but what I would say is, when I'm working towards something like a photo shoot or I'm on prep, like, I would not go out for a meal in, you know, in the last half of it. Like, I just wouldn't, because I just think you end up being inaccurate, and it just ends up taking longer to get where you want to be than it would. So in my opinion, like, when I'm putting that much effort in, it's just not worth it. And you can't, in a prep, right, you can't go out for meals because the food isn't tracked and weighed properly. Like, it's not doable, really. So, but in an off season, like I do, and you can get away with it, because obviously you're not trying to lose weight. So I think it's just finding the place and the time for it. So that's basically how I approach my off plans, and how I approach my meals out when I am dieting, not dieting, prep, not prep. Another example, so sometimes I will have multiple meals out a week. So again, if it's a diet phase, I wouldn't do this. If it's a diet phase, you know, I'll have probably one meal out, and I'll keep it very, very sensible. And obviously when it's in a prep, I don't have meals out, right? When it's in an off season, sometimes I might have a second meal out. It's very rare that it's more than two, unless I'm on holiday. But if it's, you know, just normal day-to-day life, sometimes, most weeks I'll probably have 2 meals out a week. So what I do in this instance is, one of the meals I will treat as my off-plan meal, I'm going to show you today, right? So, for example, today, have all my other meals and then just have a bigger meal out, and it pushes my calories up for that one day. What I would do if I had a second meal out, obviously I don't want to do the same approach because that's going to give me 2 days that are very high above my calorie goal, and I only have one off-plan meal a week in my plan. What I would do in that instance is I would choose something sensible. So let's say, for example, I've got an off-plan meal like tonight where I'm going to like a pub and it's like a pizza place. I'll probably have that on my off-plan, right? So say if I'm also going out with my friends on like the weekend, okay? What I would do in that instance is I would choose something that is sensible, that is probably that is probably closer in calories to my normal meal. So what I would do in that instance is I wouldn't have a dessert. I would choose something maybe like what I would choose on, you know, when I was more so in a diet phase. So something like steak and potato or salmon and veg, or just something a bit more like sensible, because then what I would do is I will just swap that for my like normal meal. But, you know, the calories in a steak and potato meal, like my normal evening meal is steak and potato anyway, so that's going to be, yeah, maybe slightly over, but it's not going to be over to the same extent as like what a burger and a dessert would be, you know? So that's the approach that I take if I go out for more than one meal in my off season, which does sometimes happen. And I think, again, like, I'm not going to turn down a meal out with my friends if they ask me to go out, or we plan to go out when I'm in a building phase, because I think, like, you need to be able to enjoy that. When I'm on prep, I don't go out for any meals. So, like, when I'm in off season, I want to be able to go and do these things. So what I do in that instance is, like I said, if it's a second meal out, I will just make sure that my second meal out is a lot more sensible and it's a lot more like similar to my normal meal. And that's basically how I do it. And again, if I had a third meal out, sometimes, in rare occasions I do have that. It might be a brunch or whatever, or a coffee date. Again, I'll just choose something that is more sensible and I'll swap it for my normal meal. So normally for my breakfast I have, I'm going to show you this in a bit, but I have eggs and bagels and bacon. So like if I go out and I've already had my meal, I'm not going to choose a fry up or pancakes. I'll have like poached egg on toast that is a lot more similar to my normal meal. So it doesn't need to be exactly bang on when you're in an off season, but you know, you want to be following the fundamentals and being like sensible with it, because otherwise you're going to end up just structure all over the place, not hitting your normal meals and not really making the progress and maybe gaining too much fat. So that's how I basically approach it, and that's how I do it all year round, basically, in an off season. So it's a nice thing because you still get that flexibility, but it's not derailing your progress, it's not throwing you off track as such. What I will do as well is in an off season we tend to build in like free calories. So this is basically calories that are in addition to my like meal plan calories. So for example, normally in an off season I'll get up to maybe 400 or so free calories a day. So what that means is I have my meals, so I have my 5 or 6 meals, and then I also might have 400 or 300, whatever. They tend to start off low, like maybe 150 and build up, but I'll add in free calories. So that means like if I go out with a coffee with friends, I can have like, and I'll still have a sensible drink. I won't have like a chocolate whipped cream frappuccino, but it means I can have like a latte rather than when I'm on prep I would go out and have an Americano, because obviously I can't have the calories. So again, it's just making sure that that decision aligns with your goal. Like I want to be able to go out with my friends and maybe have like a nice coffee sometimes. So, you know, I wouldn't have a cake unless it's my off-plan meal, but I will go out and have like a nice coffee and I will track that in and use that as part of my free calories. So that's how you can have sort of that balance of like flexibility while still making progress, because at the end of the day you also don't want to finish dieting and be like, oh yeah, you've done dieting, just eat whatever I want with no structure. So that's how I approach my off-plan meal. That's how I approach kind of navigating it with like eating out in, again, if I have other meals out. So yeah, that's basically that, so that didn't make sense. So that's basically that. So anyway, I've done the dog walk and I'm just about to go and I'm going to do a bit of work and then I'll have my breakfast a little bit later. So I normally will do like an hour of work and then have breakfast after, just so I can get my first bit blocked off. So today it is a check-in day. So I've got Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday my check-in days. So today normally, on those mornings will be when I sit down and I get all my check-ins done on those days. So they're like client-facing days. And then I am training a client today as well at 11:30 at the gym. So I'm going to go and do that, and then I'll go train legs after. So yeah, finish my makeup, go and get another drink, and then we'll crack on with some check-ins. Okay, so I'm just about to make my first meal. So this is literally same meal every single day, rest day, training day. I'm having the same thing at the minute because I love this meal and I don't think it will ever get old. So this is why, this is why meal plan can be so good, because most people, even when people say, oh, don't want to eat the same food every day, most people probably rotate around very similar meals on like a day-to-day basis. So once you've tracked it in, obviously you're set and you don't have to keep tracking your food. So my first meal is 2 eggs, 2 slices of bacon, medallions, and 2 bagel thins. So I have the ones with like the seeds on just because I think they're a bit nicer basically. So that's my first meal. Okay, what I'll do is I'll track the meals in as I go and I'll explain kind of the calories and the macros. Honestly, like I don't know the exact calories and macros because I just follow the plan and I know that my weight is roughly maintaining on what I'm doing, but I'll track it today so I can explain and show you actually where my calories are at. So yeah, same meal every day. It's now 9:30, so I've got 4 check-ins done. Obviously dogs are walked, I'm ready. So had my coffee, had some water. So I'm gonna have my first meal now and also have my supplements with this as well. I'm just going to show you, just finish my breakfast while I'm at it too. After my breakfast, I have all my supplements, so I'm just waiting for one of my supplements to arrive, which is the Supplement Needs PMS supplement. I think I've shown this on my videos before, but honestly, if you struggle with your periods, obviously, if you really struggle with your periods, like there's probably something going on that needs to be investigated, but I just struggle a little in terms of like emotion and how I feel in myself. But there's a lot of supplements you can take that really help, such as magnesium, and B vitamin complex can be really, really helpful as well. Ashwagandha can be really helpful. So I have a supplement from Supplement Needs that's called PMS Support, which basically blends all of the ingredients into one supplement, which is honestly, I rave about it. I've recommended it to so many of my clients. So I take that, but that I've actually ran out yesterday. It should be coming today. So I don't miss a day, but that should be coming today. So that's the only one out of all the supplements I'm not taking that I should be taking, but that should arrive today. But I'll show you all my other ones so you can see. So first we've got vitamin C. So I take 1,000 milligrams of this every day. Psyllium Pulse, so I take 1 in the morning with my breakfast and 1 with my last meal. This is basically like fibre. We've got a high strength omega-3, vitamin D3 and K2, and magnesium. And obviously I already had this morning, I already had my creatine and my glutamine as well. So that's basically what I take supplement wise at the minute as well. Okay, so I'm just about to have my second meal. It's 1:30, so it's actually a little bit later than I would normally have this second meal, to be fair, but I've just been to the gym to train one of my clients, so had a good catch up and did a little bit of training. I didn't train, I just went through one of her sessions with her, so that was good. I'm just in the car and I actually brought my next meal with me because I'm going to go straight to the gym now. So what I've been doing, normally my second meal I will have oats, whey and banana, but because my training at the minute has been like slightly lower intensity just while I get back into things with my stomach, I've just pulled my like pre and post workout down a little bit just because I'm not training as I would normally be training, right? So the intensity is not quite as high. So I've got a protein shake, so I've got just a scoop of whey and some almond milk, and then I've also got a banana. So I'm literally going to drive to the gym now and I'm going to eat this on the way to the gym. So I am at the gym, just pulled up in the car park and ready to go and do my leg session. So Something I wanted to touch on a little bit with off-plan meals, because I know I massively used to be this person, right? When I was when I first got into fitness, and I was very much in like the if it fits your macros kind of group, in terms of people saying, oh, like, don't treat it as an off-plan meal, it'll ruin your relationship with food, blah, 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 just go out for meals, track them into your day. But I think as I've spent more time in bodybuilding and following a meal plan, like, I kind of reached a point where actually I enjoy eating healthily. Like, I enjoy eating like my steak and my salmon and my eggs for breakfast. And I know for me, like, if I sat every day and ate things that were really heavily processed and I had dessert all the time and I just ate without any structure, like, I know, having spent all these years now following a meal plan, like, I would actually feel shocking, and my training won't be good. And for me, like, that's important. Like, I want to feel good, I want to feel like I'm eating healthy foods and I'm supporting my health. So for me, like, being able to go out once a week and have a really nice meal with my family, like, sometimes my off-plan meal will be like a Sunday roast, or it might be, you know, it's not even always something like a burger or a pizza or you know, I really have takeaways, to be often. Like, sometimes, like, I'm obsessed with Wagamama's, right? Sometimes we'll go out and I'll just have, like, I'll have a nice Wagamama's. I'm obsessed with the katsu care curry at the minute, so I'll have that, and I'll have some gyozas, and I might have they've got this hot honey chicken at the minute that's absolutely banging, so I'll have something like that. So it's not always, you know, it's more about the social aspect of it for me, in terms of like being able to go out and not thinking, how's this going to fit into my day, how am I going to track this in. And obviously, yes, when I mean, I don't really have kind of fat loss phases. I'm either on prep and I'm following my plan 100%, or I'm in my off season where I have an off plan meal. So, you know, I do have some clients that will like track, sometimes if they're in a dieting phase but it's not a prep, sometimes they will track their like meal out and will make it something like a bit more sensible. But like, for me, I really like eating well, I really like eating healthily. So for me, like, I'm quite happy with one meal out a week where I can go and I can have a nice meal and I can not stress about it, and then I'm like ready to crack on and go back to my normal meals. So for me, it really helped reframing it. And because I'm never going to go off, and I know some people will say, oh, if I have an off-plan meal, it sets me off. But I know, to be completely honest, that one of my values is I want to be healthy, I want to feel good, I want good energy, I want to train well. So for me, like, I am not going to go and just smash a load of food all day. Like, I'll enjoy my meal out, I'll have a bit of dessert, whatever, and then I'll just crack on with my plan, because I know for me that's going to help me feel good. And that mindset for me really helped me with like being able to follow a plan and being able to have a structure and not like blowing it all and like eating what I want on a weekend, because I know that for me, like, I don't enjoy the way that makes me feel. So that really helps me with sticking to a plan, because I actually recognise, like, and I know how much better I feel from actually following a plan versus just eating whatever that I want. Especially like on a weekend, I really used to struggle when I was a bit younger with sticking to a plan, and I don't going out for so many meals and just eating whatever. But actually having that structure, having that plan, like, I like how that makes me feel. So that's why it makes it easy for me to stick to it and, you know, be able to just enjoy that off-plan meal and then crack on. So that mindset for me just really helped, like, treating it not just as a fat loss thing, as like, okay, I need to follow a plan because I'm losing weight, which I think is where a lot of girls kind of get stuck, is like, okay, I follow a plan when I lose weight, but then when I'm not losing weight, I can just eat what I want. But for me, like, I know that I feel so much better and I like having that structure, so that allows me to like really stick to it, enjoy my meal out on a weekend, and then just crack on with the plan. Like, I feel a lot better from doing that. So that's what really, really drives me. And you get to look forward to it. Like, you follow your plan, you have some great training sessions, and then like tonight I'm excited because it's like, get to dress up, go out, go for a nice meal, I'm gonna have a pizza or something, and it'll be fun, it'll be nice, and then I'll crack on as normal around it. So having that mindset like massively helps me with being able to have a plan, enjoy my off plan, and then kind of get back to normal, really. So just a little bit around the mindset side of things and kind of how I work that. And hopefully that helps a little bit. And I know not everyone thinks of this in the same way. And for some people, you know, like for me in a fat loss phase, I don't want to go out for food. Like, I want to stick to my plan because I know that that is going to get me better progress. I know, like, I have some clients where they do want to still go out for food, and that's fine. Like, we can track that in. But I think it's just understanding that, especially when you have a fat loss goal, like, you can't just go out and eat whatever you want and still expect to lose weight. Like, you do have to be sensible because it's so easy for the calories to rack up. So like for me, I would rather just go all in, not go out, and just stick to my plan, get my fat loss phase done, and then I know that when I've done my fat loss phase, great, I can have my off-plan meal every week and I have that flexibility. But obviously that is very person dependent. That's how I like to do it. I think from a results basis that works a lot better, but obviously if you are someone that is happier with slightly slower fat loss results and you want to still go out, like I do think it is still doable, but the meal out has to be mindful. Like I don't think you can diet through a fat loss phase and have off-plan meals as a small female, because unless you're willing to accept that as a maintenance week, I don't think it works that well, to be quite honest. So just some food for thought. But anyway, I'm gonna go and train legs because it's getting late and I need to get back and do a bit more work before we go out for dinner tonight. So I am back from the gym, good leg session, and I'm just about to make my post-workout meal. So this is my third meal. Can you count the last one as the last meal? This is my third meal. Like I said, my pre and my post workout at the minute is slightly different because my training is nowhere near the same intensity that it normally is yet. Like, being completely honest, like I just can't lift as much weight, because what happens is when I try and lift the same amount of weight, because I'm still in kind of the recovery process, I guess, and I'm still building things back up, if I go in and I train to proper failure, I honestly am like, I just can't hack the session. I can't do the volume. I have to cut the session short in absolute bits for like a week, and then it means I can't train again properly for like days because I'm so sore. So basically I'm having to like train with a little bit in the tank, and obviously this is my first week like back doing like proper sessions, so I am consciously like holding back a little bit, so basically I'm not really sore. I've just done a leg session. So last time I tried to do a leg session a couple of weeks ago, I did like a week of full body sessions, then was like, right, let's go back to normal. And honestly, I was I think I pulled a muscle in my adductor, was so sore, so I was like, right, scrap that. So this is the second time I've tried to go back to my normal split. Took it a little bit steady today, didn't put loads of weight on, so we'll see how I'm feeling tomorrow. But anyway, I'm just about to have my third meal, so it is now, it's 4 o'clock. So did my check-ins this morning, been to train my client, been to the gym, and I'm gonna have basically like chicken, rice, got some jasmine rice and some like salady bits, basically, some peronaise on the top. So that's gonna be like my post-workout / lunch, I guess. And then we're going out for dinner, and then I'll have my Greek yogurt. So you can see like what I'm basically doing, because I'm not actively trying to lose weight at the minute, is I'll have my normal meals, and then normally on a training day when I would have like my steak and potato in the evening, or pasta and mince, whatever I'm having in the evening, I just basically will swap that for my meal out. So that's as easy as it gets with the off plans, and it's, in my opinion, like so much easier doing it that way than it is trying to track in the food and do it. It just can get so messy, and then you don't know how many calories you've got left. Like I do have some clients that do it that way, and it works in certain circumstances. I think especially when you are someone that is in a fat loss phase and you're not prepping but you're in a fat loss phase, I actually think estimating the meal out can work really well. I'll make this meal and then I'll tell you another way that I previously used to do it when I was in like a fat loss phase, in terms of how I would like track in a meal and actually work that into the day, basically. If you follow me, if you've seen my other YouTube videos, you'll see before that I do this all the time, but something I do which makes prep so much easier is I'll bulk prep all my protein. So this has just gone in the air fryer. I've got 2 Tupperwares of this in the fridge, and it just means when I come to put a meal together, so normally for lunch I will have either chicken and salad or veg, or chicken, rice, salad and veg. So it's a super easy meal, and a lot of the time, I haven't actually done this at the minute, but a lot of the time I will also pre-chop my veg. So I'll pre-chop like my tomato, my pepper, my cucumber, so it's in a Tupperware. So, you know, if I'm using either microwave rice, so I've got this jasmine rice at the minute. Normally I would pre-cook rice. I just had this left over from when I went away with mum the other day. But I'll have like a Tupperware of rice, I'll have a Tupperware of chicken, and I'll have a Tupperware of veg. And then you literally 2 minutes, whack your meal together, bit of salt, bit of dressing, and you're good to go. So easy way of making things nice and easy. And I literally haven't tried to do any cooking today. I cooked my eggs this morning, which took me like 2 minutes, but you know, it means that my meals, I'm not spending time every single day chopping food up, cooking food, which just makes it so much easier when you are someone that is busy and in a rush. So yeah, another way you can do it, if you are someone that is in a diet and, for example, you're going out for a meal, and this is what I'll get a lot of my clients to do, is I will get them to sometimes pull down the calories in the day to save calories for a meal out. So say if I've got a client that's got on like 4 meals a day, most of my clients will probably have 4 or 5 meals a day. What we will probably do is pull the carbs and the fats out of some of their meals, so that then they have a good chunk of calories left, and they're maybe going out with like 700 to 800 calories left, and then we'll then go through the menu, choose the thing what we think is best for their goal, and we will slot that into their day so that they're still getting the same amount of protein in. And another good tip as well, which I really recommend doing, if you're going out for a meal and you are in a dieting phase, a really good idea, and in a building phase to be fair, but a good idea is to have like a protein based meal or a protein shake or something an hour or two before you go, because then you're not going out absolutely starving. And especially, I mean, you shouldn't be starving in a building phase, but in a dieting phase you do not want to be going out like absolutely starving, because it makes things harder. So if you can have like a protein shake or something an hour or two before you go, like I'm having this, I'm leaving the house in an hour, I'm having a chicken, rice and veg meal. Obviously I'm not dieting, but it just makes things a lot easier. So what I'll do with my clients who are in a fat loss phase is, say if they have 4 meals a day, I'll say, right, have your breakfast, your lunch, and have you know your mid-afternoon meal, protein shake, whatever is normal. Let's pull some of the carbs out your earlier meals. We might just have a lunch that is like protein and veg, and then you've got those calories that you can utilise for your evening meal. So that's another way you can do it as well, that works quite nicely if you are in a fat loss phase and you want to actually track the meal into your day. Like I said, I don't do that. The way I do mine is if I'm dieting, there's no meals out. What I'll do is I'll swap my evening meal and I'll just have something really, really sensible. But I just categorically will not go out in a dieting phase and have like alcohol or like something that is higher calorie. I'll just choose something that is low calorie if I'm in a building phase. But like I said, on prep, I just don't eat out. If I'm in a building phase, I'll go out and I'll have a nice meal. And I think it's really important like to be able to do that. Like I said earlier, I think it's important to be able to just have that time where you can go out and you can eat a bit of what you fancy, and you can have a bit of dessert, because everyone loves dessert, including me, and it's just nice. So yeah, anyway, I'll show you this meal. The best. I don't use this on prep. It's got a bit more calories in, but off season, 10 out of 10. Where are we going?
We're going to the Swan.
Where?
The Swan.
Is that what it's called?
I think so.
We're going to the Swan. I'm going out for dinner now, so I've shown all my food for the day. So I've had all my meals as normal, and then like I said earlier, it's just that last meal that is basically swapped for the like off-plan meal basically. Actually no, I still have my Greek yogurt left as well. So my Greek yogurt, my fruit and my dark chocolate. So everything around the off-plan meal is hit as normal, and this is how I do it all the way through my off-season. So the one off-plan meal a week, and then if I have another meal out, I'll either, if it's something like a coffee, I'll include it in my free calories. If it ends up being like another full meal, I will just make that meal a bit more like sensible, and I'll just swap that for my normal meal so it doesn't push the calories up super high. And that's basically how I do it all the way through the off season, and that means you get a nice mix then of like still having a good structure and still getting all the meals in, and also still being able to go out and have like meals and stuff. The only time I will do this a little bit differently is like if I go on holiday, I don't follow my meal plan. So if I go on holiday, I will just more so stick to like fundamentals, so like 3 to 4 protein servings a day, and also just being like sensible with food, so not just eating like whatever I want for the whole holiday, because obviously then like I would put more weight on. So that's how I basically do it all year round, and it then means that by the time you get to like a fat loss phase or a prep or whatever, you've had that flexibility in terms of being able to eat out, you've built your food up nice and high, so you're like mentally ready to diet as well. So that's another reason as well why when you're in an off season or a building phase, like you want to make sure that you still, like, it's so easily done when you're in a building phase to just eat really like processed food and not actually get like whole foods in, not get your protein in, because you're generally less hungry when you're not dieting. So you want to make sure you've still got a really good structure in place, and that's another reason why like having a meal plan structure can work so well, because you're getting all your fruit and veg in, you're getting your protein in, your food quality is good, and then you can actually build your calories up quite high. So it means by the time you come to do a fat loss phase, your calories are in a really good spot and they're nice and high, and it makes it so much easier to then transition into the fat loss phase. So that's basically a roundup of how I do the off-plan meal basically. If you have any questions, let me know, drop any comments below, and that's that. I'm gonna go and have a nice meal. Hopefully they have a good dessert.
What?
Hopefully they have a good dessert.
Yeah, I hope. Yeah, I'll probably won't be able to have.
Yeah, true. Hopefully this was helpful, and I'll be back next week with another vlog.